Hey there, it's Jill Kaufman again, and I am a therapist, divorce coach, co-parenting expert, but I am so excited to be here today with Sara Nanchanett. Nanchanett. Is that the right way to say it?
Nanchanett, you were close.
Nanchanett. She is a forensic accounting expert, and we're going to talk today about forensic accounting in divorce 101. So, like the basics of forensic accounting. Sara, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. So, I own my own forensic accounting practice. Divorce is one area that we work in. We also work across the forensic accounting space. And when it comes to divorce, I like to say that forensic accounting is really about just making sense of the numbers and understanding when you're super overwhelmed, you're going through all of this emotionally, what your finances are trying to tell you, what they mean, and how that might be used in your divorce proceeding.
Great. So let's start with tracing. What is that? Why do people use it? And what can you do for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So tracing is one of the most common reasons why you would have a forensic accounting accountant. And tracing is just a fancy way of saying like following the funds. So when you have multiple bank accounts, whether they're joint or personal, also brokerage accounts, retirement, there's a lot of flow of money and it's going in a lot of different directions. So you want to make sure that if money's leaving your account, you understand where it went and in the context of your divorce, what that might mean. So, for some of the tracing, we can find accounts that maybe haven't been disclosed yet. So, if we see a lot of transfers to a Bank of America account and we didn't receive any statements from Bank of America, we can work with your attorney to subpoena those records and figure out is there more money to this pie of the marital estate than we know of at this point in time. We also can use tracing if, see if real estate assets have been purchased, anything of that nature, just to make sure we have the complete picture going forward, when it comes to the division of the marital estate.
And what would you do differently than someone looking at their accounts by themselves?
Yeah, so I think part of it is looking at the full picture together. It's really hard to go from, like if you're looking at a paper statement, let's say you have eight different accounts. So you see the movement of 100,000. So then you're looking individually on each paper statement of where did this go? Whereas we have software and tools that can just kind of put it all together and say like, okay, we saw 100,000 leave. We don't see it hit anywhere in your accounts anymore. And so that's a red flag that we're going to start asking questions about. So part of it, what's challenging is you don't know until you're in it. So sometimes we'll do this tracing analysis and we'll say, yeah, there were a lot of transfers, but it stayed all within your accounts and all of your money's here. We don't have any suspicions that it's somewhere else. Or we do this and we're like, wow, I think there's a bank account here. I think there might have been an asset purchase here. Let's talk to your attorney and figure out a game plan of next steps.
That's great. Yeah. No, so you take all the information. What if somebody doesn't have access to the information?
That's a great question. So, one of the things I always tell people, if you're contemplating a divorce or you're just starting, keep an eye on the mail. I know it's antiquated, but keep an eye on did a statement from Chase come in? Did something from American Express come in? And keep note of the institutions because then we can work with your attorneys to subpoena financial records if you don't have access. And so all we really need is one place to start, and then we can look at, okay, we got Chase records. We see transfers to Bank of America. Now let's subpoena Bank of America. So it's not a perfect world. Also, generally in the proceedings through discovery, you are required to disclose financial assets. We all know it doesn't always happen, but there are motions that your attorney can go through as well, and a judge can order the other side to compel that information.
That's great. Yeah. So, do you have any tips for people if like taxes have a lot of information on there, but what are
Yep.
some good tips to give people to prepare for their divorce in this way?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you jointly file your taxes, you have equal rights to those returns just as much as your spouse does. And where you would see bank accounts or assets can be in the interest section. So, did you get interest on even just a savings account? You would get something on your taxes from that. So that's a great place to start. And then, so I think getting the taxes, keeping an eye on the mail, trying to understand your institutions, and having a general idea of the lifestyle that you've led. And the reason that's important is, if let's say your spouse owns a business, which we handle a lot in these cases, and they say they make $20,000 a year, but your kids are going to private school, you drive a very fancy car, you live in the best neighborhood, like those are lifestyle aspects that don't add up to what we're seeing in the financials. So you don't need to know how much you all are spending per month if you've never had access to the finances, but knowing these ballparks can help, us think about the red flags and what might be missing from the picture we've been given.
That's great. And I know in addition to tracing, you do some other things. You want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, super quickly. So we do what's called a lifestyle analysis, which is similar to the tracing or like I said of, understanding how you live your life, is what money has been coming in, what money has been going out. This can help us for child support and alimony conversations, but also if one side they call it dissipating assets. If they've spent money from the marital estate to their own personal benefit, you might be able to try to get a credit for that in the negotiation. So, lifestyle analyses are very common. We do business valuations. Like I mentioned, sometimes the business metrics don't add up. So, we'll actually reconstruct their financials before we do a valuation. And one more element with tracing is if you have separate versus marital property. And so, for instance, let's say your mother passed away while you were still married, you got an inheritance and it was just for you personally, not for the joint couple. But you deposited the funds in a joint account and then you paid credit card bills and then everything kind of got commingled together. We can help kind of untangle that string and figure out how much of that money remains separate versus how much is now part of the marital estate for division.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know. So this was really great. I think a good start for people to understand forensic accounting and how it can help. Where can people get in touch with you?
Yes, so I have a website. It's snforensics.com. You'll find information about me, about the firm, and there's a contact form. And feel free, any questions you have, feel free to submit them. And I'm also happy to be registered as one of the experts on your website, Jill, and people can
Yes.
find my information there as well.
Awesome. At divorcenetworkpro.com. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.